CTV News with Stephanie Masotti.
Good evening, and thank you for joining us as we look back at the top stories of 2025. We start with one that has arguably had the biggest impact on our community. Joining me to talk about tariffs is CTV's Sanjay Maran. Sanjay, it's been a stressful year full of uncertainty.
That's right, Stephanie. No shortage of tariff talk in 2025. At the beginning of February, U.S. President Donald Trump launched a trade war, implementing a barrage of tariffs and quickly straining the United States' long-standing relationship with Canada.
We have big deficits, and it's something we're doing, and we'll possibly very substantially increase it or not. We'll see how it is.
On February 1st, Trump signs an executive order levying tariffs on Canadian exports to the U.S., 25% on all products except energy, critical minerals, and potash. Those
were hit with 10% tariffs. Trump justifying the tariffs as a way to, quote, address the flow of illicit drugs across our northern border.
Later, Trump announces the tariffs will take effect March 4th.
Canada's premiers began bracing for that impact.
President Trump is hell-bent on undermining Canada, our workers, our economy, our quality of life. When tariffs come, they'll devastate Canada's economy. Hundreds of thousands of jobs are at risk.
Border mayors from 5 provinces, led by Windsor's Drew Dilkins, formed an alliance speaking with their U.S. counterparts to deal with the potential fallout.
That is actually it's been very reassuring to hear mayors in Michigan talk to me about the understanding they have about the negative consequences of a tariff applied to Canadian goods.
Trump ramping up the rhetoric, pushing exaggerated claims about Canada and pushing for it to become the 51st state, a notion experts say has no basis in reality.
Canada and the United States, that would really be something. You get rid of that artificially drawn line, and you take a look at what that looks like, and it would also be much better for national security. Why are we supporting a country, $200 billion plus a year? Our military is at their disposal. All of these other things, they should be a state.
March 4th, 25% tariffs go into effect.
Even though you're a very smart guy, this is a very dumb thing to do.
The same day, Canada's retaliatory tariffs go into effect, 25% on $30 billion worth of U.S. goods. And Justin Trudeau says another 25% tariffs on more goods would go into effect on March 25th.
But 2 days later, Trump amends his executive order, giving an exemption for products which comply with the Canada-U.S.-Mexico agreement. That's CUSMA. The exemption covers nearly 90% of Canadian exports to the U.S., which means the vast bulk of products can cross the border tariff-free.
Trump then grants a 1-month exemption on his tariffs for U.S. automakers. Canada then announcing more retaliatory tariffs worth $29.8 billion Canadian dollars.
But Trump does not let up.
What we're going to be doing is a 25% tariff on all cars that are not made in the United States.
Just days after his minority election win, Prime Minister Mark Carney meets with Trump at the White House.
We choose our own allies in Canada. We choose how we engage those allies. We are sovereign. So I take note of the president's comment. I don't take direction from it.
Trump's sweeping 25% tariffs on auto imports begin April 3rd, starting with taxes on fully imported cars.
In response, Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney matches with a tariff on non-CUSMA compliant vehicles imported from the U.S. starting April 9th.
We haven't really had a lot of luck with Canada. I think Canada could be one where they'll just pay tariffs. Not really a negotiation.
Trump's heightened 35% tariff rate on a range of Canadian goods take effect on August 1st. Later in the month, Carney says that Canada will drop many of its retaliatory tariffs to match U.S. exemptions for goods covered under the CUSMA agreement.
He's removing his retaliatory tariffs, which I thought was nice.
On October 22nd, Carney outlines plans for Canada to double its non-U.S. exports in the next decade. He points to Trump's tariffs, noting that affected jobs across Canada are under threat and that the new levies are causing a chill in investment.
A day later, Trump says he's ending all trade negotiations with Canada.
Rejecting protectionist legislation and promoting fair and free competition.
The abrupt move in response to a television ad using a speech by former President Ronald Reagan, Trump claiming the ad misstates the facts and was aimed at influencing court decisions.
What happened is one of the leaders in Canada was running ads in the United States on tariffs that took President Reagan's words out of context.
The ad was paid for by our provincial government. Premier Doug Ford later says he's pulling the TV ad so trade talks may resume.
We stand ready to pick up on that progress and build on that progress when the Americans are ready to have those discussions, because it will be for the benefit of workers in the United States, workers in Canada.
We haven't seen much of an impact at the Stellantis plant in Windsor, but the company has announced plans to move production of the Jeep Compass from Brampton to Illinois, and the Big Three have very quietly begun retooling plants around the U.S. to move production back to the U.S. for 2026 and 2027.
And of course, Sanjay, any job losses does have a ripple effect throughout an entire community.
Yeah, this was a year of just so many developments when it comes to tariffs in 2025. Going to be very interesting to see if this is just as chaotic in 2026.
Okay, Sanjay Mara with one of the hottest topics of the year. Thank you, Sanjay.
Thank you.
Another major announcement impacting our community. Spirits giant Diageo announcing it will shut down its Crown Royal bottling plant in Amherstburg, the town's largest employer, putting over 200 employees in the unemployment line. CTV's Robert Lothian is joining us now. And Robert, you have been covering this story from the very beginning.
Yes, Stephanie, and the announcement from the company triggered a wide range of reactions. Feelings of despair in being undervalued by the employees, disbelief from the town, outrage from union leaders, and even this dramatic response from Ontario Premier Doug Ford.
So this is what I think about Crown Royal. That's what they could do. And I think everyone else should do the same thing.
Ford publicly poured an entire bottle of Crown Royal onto the ground during a news conference, calling the closure a betrayal to workers and promising retaliation if the plant shuts in February 2026. The news reignited calls from some politicians, including Lisa Gretzky, to pull Crown Royal from the shelves of the LCBO in protest.
In a situation like this, to not just sit back and take it. At some point, you have to show your solidarity. You have to show that fight, and you have to push back.
Then in October came word an unnamed company is in preliminary talks to buy the plant, Robert, for $25 million.
Yeah, that's right. We first heard of other companies having interest in the plant from Doug Ford. Then the mayor of Amherstburg, Michael Prue, admitted he had been talking to a company that is seriously interested in taking over the facility.
We have met with them on 3 or 4 occasions, once by Zoom, other times in person, and we know that they're very serious.
Prue said the new operation would be a much larger one than Diageo currently is. According to the mayor, Diageo's sale agent then requested $28.5 million, which the unnamed company agreed to, but Prue said Diageo never followed through.
Then in the end of November brought a heartbreaking decision for employees.
Yes, a closure agreement on November 30th. Employees approved and ratified a closure agreement setting the terms for the plant's shutdown.
Yeah, it's somber because a lot of people are choosing to exercise their rights under the closure agreement, and today's their last day.
Some benefits were extended, and some employees were able to retire early, saying goodbye to coworkers and walking out of the plant the next day.
But the hope for a future for the plant isn't dead just yet.
No, the mayor says several companies are now eyeing it, and the town is in weekly contact with an interested buyer.
Okay, so hopefully the new year will bring better news for Amherstburg, but don't go anywhere, Robert. We have more from you tonight. A project in the works since September 2001 we're talking about. It was supposed to wrap up this year, but now it won't be completed until the new year.
Yes, Stephanie, of course, we are talking about the Gordie Howe International Bridge. It's been a long road to build a second bridge span across the Detroit River. And while the need for another bridge became apparent in the days following 9/11, construction didn't officially start until October 5th of 2018.
Last year, it saw some major milestones in the bridge's construction. One of the most memorable was the two sides connecting and that infamous handshake between the Canadian and American workers when they met in the middle.
So when this year started, the two sides of the bridge were already connected. The concrete paving complete and 216 stay cables had been attached. This is the latest addition to the Gordie Howe International Bridge. Canadian and American flags are now in place at the center of the span where the two bridge decks join. Officials with Windsor Detroit Bridge Authority tell CTV News the bridge is now 98% done, saying we are making progress towards our anticipated completion this year. Heather Grondin is quoted in a statement to CTV News. Grondin says, however, it's too early to pinpoint the day when traffic can flow across the $6.4 billion bridge. Over the course of the year, the multi-use path was completed. The stressing of the stay cables was finished. CBSA moved in and started installing equipment, and the bridge tower cranes were deconstructed, a feat that took between 4 to 5 weeks to complete. Work is still wrapping up on the primary inspection lanes, 24 of which are on the Canadian side, 36 on the U.S. side. The bridge did not meet the anticipated fall opening date. Now all officials will say it is expected to open in early 2026.
But when we do have that date, CTV News Windsor does plan to have a special newscast. We will be doing it outside. We will have one of our reporters right on the bridge, so it will be an exciting night. We will just all have to bundle up.
Yeah, Stephanie, definitely one to put on the jackets for. Hopefully, though, as we were talking about before, once the summer comes around, maybe an opportunity to walk across the bridge.
Without a doubt. Okay, Robert Lothian, thank you for your coverage in 2025.
Thank you.
5 homicides, 5 verdicts. Still ahead on Windsor's news leader. The murder case is now wrapped up. We can take a look back at 2025 without a look at some of the heartbreaking stories of the year. CTV's Michelle Molesky joining us now. And Michelle, we've had 5 murders this year and countless numbers of criminal trials, and you've been following all of them.
Yeah, quite a few of them. You're right, Stephanie. It was a rough start to the year, with Windsor recording its first homicide just a few weeks into January. On January 27th, to be exact, 53-year-old Sean Shewart was shot and killed outside of the former Waterworld building on Wyandotte Street. Authorities say it happened after a fight escalated between 2 men, and they were not known to the victim. 2 women have already pleaded guilty to obstruction of justice. They were sentenced to time already served and are now on 3 years probation. A 16-year-old youth has been charged with accessory after the fact, while 19-year-old Muhammad Toppin was arrested in Peterborough and scheduled to stand trial for first-degree murder in the new year. In March 2025, 83-year-old Anita Goodings was killed in Leamington at an apartment on Shirk Street. It started as a sudden death investigation by police, but then it was deemed a homicide. 61-year-old Kevin Goodings was later charged with second-degree murder. The story of David Paveo has taken many turns this year. He was first reported missing in mid-August. It led police to search out in Essex County a month later. And then 2 weeks after that, they searched in the city of Windsor. Sadly, in mid-October, a body was discovered near Timmins, Ontario, which police believe is the 37-year-old. 5 people have now been charged in Paveo's death. In mid-October, a 53-year-old Windsor man was killed after an incident at a home on Wyandotte Street West. Police say a suspect pushed the man down a flight of stairs and he later died. 45-year-old Kevin Christopher Harris turned himself into police. He is now facing a charge of second-degree murder. And finally, just last month, a 28-year-old woman was killed in a crime police describe as, quote, a fatal incident of intimate partner violence. It happened at a home on Langlois Street, a crime police say they only learned of after a vehicle was pulled over driving erratically downtown. When they pulled the driver over, officers noticed the suspect had dried blood on his face and his body. That's led them to the Langlois Street crime scene. 29-year-old Daniel Assing has now been charged with first-degree murder.
Now, Michelle, in researching for this show, you said you dug through the archives looking for a good statistic.
Yeah, a really good statistic, actually. I had to go all the way back to 2009 to find it. That's when the city of Windsor didn't have a murder for just under 2 years. No one was killed in Windsor from September 2009 through November 2011.
Now, you've been with the Windsor team for a very long time, 25 years now.
Yeah, I absolutely have. And it's been in this last couple of years that I've really started to get into enjoying the whole court process. And so There's plenty of court cases to update, and it's kind of hard to whittle it down. But we're certainly going to give it a shot here. So this year saw the conclusion of cases that we've been talking about for many years. Some date back to before COVID. In April 2022, a busy Saturday night at a local bowling alley took a violent turn when shots were fired towards the entrance. Police said at the time it was surprising no one was killed that night. Although 5 people were shot, they had survivable injuries. This past March, 24-year-old Andrew Malash and 22-year-old Joshua Fryer pleaded guilty to having a loaded firearm in a vehicle. Fryer was involved in a fight inside the establishment, so the manager forced everyone to leave. Those 2 men, Fryer and Malash, got into a pickup truck with 2 other people, one of whom authorities believe is the shooter. Fryer and Malash were both sentenced to 8 months house arrest. A shooter will face trial next year. From Windsor to Chatham, Kent now, and this incident. On July 7th, 2021, 24-year-old Nicholas Greaves was shot behind the wheel of this car by a police officer, Constable Sean O'Rourke. Now 58, O'Rourke pleaded not guilty, saying his attempt to safely pull Greaves over took a dangerous turn when the young man struck the police cruiser and drove erratically across Highway 401. Even while in the water-filled ditch, O'Rourke said Greaves continued to try to get away. O'Rourke, for his part, testified at trial his gun accidentally went off as he stumbled forward towards the car. In June, Justice Bruce Thomas found O'Rourke not guilty of the offense of manslaughter. Seth Bertrand, who is now 22 years old, was charged with 1 count of participating in a terrorist organization way back in 2022. His trial wasn't held until the fall of 2024, as Bertrand's lawyers chose to have him conclude his mischief offenses first. Now, Bertrand pleaded guilty to vandalizing the home of a same-sex couple in Windsor. While investigating those offenses, police discovered Bertrand tried to join a terrorist group called the Atomwaffen Division. His terrorism trial waded into the often murky subculture of terrorist groups in Canada, and a judge was forced to wrestle with whether or not applying online to join a terrorist group is the same thing as participating in their activities. In August of this year, Justice Maria Caracia ruled applying online was akin to participation. Bertrand will face a sentencing hearing in February. On November 12th, 2019, an electrical fire spread to parked vehicles in the underground garage of Westcourt Place. The fire pushed smoke up through the downtown Windsor high-rise that forced the evacuation of all 150 apartment units and dozens of offices. The building has been empty ever since. A class action lawsuit was launched within weeks of the 2019 fire. This past January 2025, a settlement was announced. By November, the class action was confirmed by the court, clearing the way for tenants to get their share of $7.3 million in a settlement. Lawyers expect those checks will be cut midway through next year. And finally, the disappearance, discovery, and death of 36-year-old Sarah Boulay renewed local concerns about intimate partner violence when she was killed in May 2023. Her estranged husband, Brian Marbury of Michigan, was charged in her death. On the first day of his trial this past September, Marbury pleaded guilty to causing an indignity to a human body and not guilty to murder. Marbury never took the stand in his own defense. Surveillance video was the cornerstone in the Crown's case. Videos that showed Boulay arrive at a Huron Church Road hotel alive and never walking out again. The same footage captured Marbury leaving with what appeared to be a dead body over his shoulder. The trial lasted over 11 days, but the jury took less than 5 hours to return with a guilty verdict. Marbury faces a sentencing hearing on December the 30th. Stephanie.
Michelle, you are in those courtrooms. There's always a wide range of emotions.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, and I'm glad you picked up on it because I wanted to take this opportunity to address that. You know, I am fascinated by the wide range of emotions that are discussed and displayed in the judicial system. And yet everyone there, from victims' families to lawyers, judges, and staff, they all have to remove emotion and follow the letter of the law in our democracy. I want to publicly thank all of the court staff, lawyers, and judges for their patience and help with my seemingly never-ending requests for help or information. Mostly, though, I want to thank the families of victims who never cease to amaze me with their strength and courage to sit through emotional and traumatic days in court without saying a word or crying out in frustration. My sincerest hope is our work covering these stories hasn't made your grief process all the more difficult. Stephanie.
These stories are so essential to tell, and we appreciate all of your work and your effort covering these challenging storylines. So thank you for this, Michelle.
Well, I appreciate that. It is important that people know about what's happening in our community from a safety perspective, and it's also important that they know how the judicial process plays out. It's not perfect, but it's all we've got, and we have to keep reporting these stories.
And it can be complicated at times,
so. Yeah.
but you break it down for us.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Later, an innovative approach to feeding the hungry. And meet the newest and youngest member of the Bell Media family, and he is as cute as a teddy bear. Earlier in the show, we talked about the construction of the Gordie Howe International Bridge, the border gridlock that followed the 9/11 terrorism attacks. They did more than just prompt construction of a new crossing. 24 years later, those events continue to shape how we remember that day. Now, a new generation is learning about that day. Chris Campbell joins me now with more on this. And Chris, you actually had the opportunity to walk in their footsteps.
Yes, Stephanie, it certainly was a unique experience getting the chance to cover this story earlier this year as someone who can clearly remember when those tragic events unfolded more than 2 decades ago. In fact, I was the same age as the students at LaSalle High School, where a generation that wasn't even alive when the towers came down joined firefighters in a symbolic memorial climb this year.
Step by step, over and over, students and staff at St. Thomas of Villanova Catholic Secondary School, along with local firefighters, climbed the bleachers, matching the number of stairs inside New York's World Trade Center towers.
It was very hard work, but it's very meaningful for what it represents.
For many students, it was their first time learning about the tragedy beyond history books.
In my mind, I was just thinking of all the people, what they went through. They definitely had it a lot harder than me, so I just kept pushing on and on.
Some students instead walking laps around the track while speaking with LaSalle firefighters.
This is like the first time we've ever done something like this, and I think it was pretty cool. We were talking to a couple of firefighters, and they were teaching us a lot about the process of becoming a firefighter.
Principal Danielle Desjardins says the event is about more than just remembering.
Not only commemorate and memorialize first responders, but also to bring together our LaSalle community to increase awareness of the role of firefighting in our community. And some of these students, it was 24 years ago, they weren't alive yet, so they might hear stories, they might see clips, but today provides an opportunity for them to really imagine and to hear from individuals who were there at that time.
For LaSalle firefighters, it was a way to share perspective.
Powerful, humbling. It's just such a privilege to put the Maltese cross on every day and to share this with a generation that wasn't alive for the 9/11 tragedy. Was super important to us.
Organizers hope the climb not only honored the 443 first responders killed that day, but inspires future ones.
I wasn't alive for D-Day or World War II, but those stories were passed on through my parents and ancestors of the like, so I think it's the responsibility for us to keep those 443 brave men and women's sacrifice alive and honor them.
A lesson in resilience, sacrifice, and community, carried one step at a time.
Now, Chris, there's no doubt in my mind that that will happen. It's hard to believe that it's been 24 years. It does feel like it was yesterday.
Absolutely. Time just goes by so fast these days, and that's a perfect example of absolutely that.
Okay. And from honoring the struggles of the past to confronting the struggles happening right now, as we know, winter can be a very difficult season for many Canadian households.
Absolutely, Steph. And in these cold winter nights, some families are having to choose between heating and eating. But in Chatham-Kent, there is a group working to change that.
Chicken noodle soup, 4 items.
Amid soaring food prices and freezing temperatures, Free Help CK is helping the hungry in their time of need.
I've had a tough go the last few months.
John Seed lost his wife and daughter within a few months of each other last year.
It's been a crazy go for me, but like I say, this free help pantries have just been godsend.
Twice a week, volunteers in Chatham-Kent fill 13 free food pantries.
There is definitely a need because when we do it every week, everything's gone.
In a 2023 report, Chatham-Kent Public Health said 1 in 5 households across the municipality is food insecure. Officials with Chatham's Outreach for Hunger say they served 6,000 households in 2023 and 7,000 in 2024. Free Help CK put free food pantries in Dresden, Ridgetown, Tilbury, and several others that are scattered throughout Chatham-Kent.
Chris, those dollar figures you mentioned really puts things in perspective for all Canadians, but if you are able to give, it is the holiday season, even canned vegetables, anything helps.
It absolutely goes a long way, and I try my best to think of things that are maybe not often donated, like a can of coffee or something like that can also go quite the distance.
Okay, Chris Campbell tonight, thank you for all of your effort throughout 2025.
Thank you, Steph.
It's been a busy and bright year for collaboration with the Virgin Radio Newsroom. The year started with Hannah Witherby dropping by every single week to break down the latest entertainment buzz until she stepped away for maternity leave. That's when Johnny Parks jumped in, giving the segment a fresh twist, diving into all the fun Windsor Essex has to offer. Now, as the year wraps up, we're welcoming Hannah, Johnny, and Melanie to look back at the stories that made this year unforgettable.
Yeah, let's start with the best news of all. Hannah and her husband, Kevin, welcomed a baby boy. Hannah, tell us about your precious bundle here.
This is Theodore Jason. He was born on August 9th, and he was 6 pounds, 2 ounces, totally healthy, and we're very excited. He's in his Christmas best.
He is so adorable, and we are also going to count down some of the top moments in the entertainment world while you're on your maternity leave. You probably kept track of some of the things. So what are your top 3 Wither Report type stories this year?
Okay, well, kicking it off, we have to remember Katy Perry went to space. Don't forget about the space trip. Not only that, she's recently come out as dating Justin Trudeau. So that's a big thing this year. Also, of course, the Coldplay cheating scandal was really huge in 2025. It led to a lot of memes and also a lot of resignations, one may say. And other than that, Taylor Swift, she got engaged, obviously, to Travis Kelce. So lots of big stuff going on in 2025.
So many huge things. And closer to home, Johnny and I have been featuring some local events and entertainment. So, Johnny, what are some of your top 3 this year?
Oh, boy. Where should we start? I mean, it was great doing the Oktoberfest bench dance. I learned a lot. I almost fell off of the bench and split my head open, but it was fun. Of course, we've got the Halloweener costume, which I think Hannah has said multiple times I should retire. Wiener's getting kind of wrinkly at this point.
Yeah.
The grape stomping was also great. I think if you were to smell my feet, it probably might still smell a little bit like wine, but.
That was my least favorite. Nobody wants to see your bare toes.
Hey, some people pay for that.
Yeah, that was kicking it all off. And you wore a lot of different hats this year, too, Johnny.
Oh, we wore so many hats, for sure.
Oh, my goodness. Well, we've had so much fun delivering the entertainment news this year and can't wait to continue in the new year. Thanks, Hannah and Johnny, for sharing all of these experiences with our CTV audience.
Thanks, Daddy.
2 heads, 1 salmon. Still ahead, how a rare 2-headed salmon stopped researchers at the University of Windsor in their tracks. The tariff tensions and border battles adding a layer of complication to an already complicated cross-border love. CTV's Travis Fornham is joining me now to talk about this. And Travis, you introduced us to one couple in the spring who shared how international relations really did impact their international relationship.
Yeah, this is a story that I got the idea for around Valentine's Day, right? Early February, that's when all this Canada-U.S. tension first kicked off. Everybody in this region knows of at least one couple coming from either side of the border, so I wondered how the Canada-U.S. drama was factoring into those relationships. Katoon Wong-Willard, who lives in Windsor, and her partner Matthew Mullinen from Michigan shed some light on their situation.
It was just the 2 of us just click when we started talking.
4 years since swiping right, Wong-Willard and her partner, Michigander Matthew Moylanen, are now talking marriage, a conversation that has to factor in political tensions on either side of the border.
We're trying to figure out our future and with what's happening that has been impacting it.
It's been a little bit of a hiccup.
Moylan says people on his side aren't talking about the strained Canada-U.S. relationship much, but it's taking up a lot of real estate in Wong Willart's mind. She's no longer comfortable crossing.
It's not like dating wasn't hard enough as it is. It is, but now you're adding this on top of it.
With tariffs, boycotts, and border backlash fueling divide, some Canadians have been judgmental of those still dating Americans or crossing into the U.S. in general. But matchmaker Laura Bellotta says politics shouldn't control your love life.
We all have one life to live, okay? And that life isn't meant to be lived just to make other people happy. So if crossing the border to go see your partner is something that's important to you, then you need to continue doing that.
Wong Willart and Moylan aren't letting politics get in the way of their relationship, but say it's added a layer they never expected.
I don't think things will go back to quote unquote like normal of what it was like a couple of years ago, but hopefully things would improve.
But things will not be going back to normal for the couple, because I do have an update on this story. Since that story aired in April, Katoon and Matthew have gotten engaged. On October 11th, Matthew popped the question and Katoon said yes. Huge congratulations to them. Glad to see political tensions haven't interfered too much.
Oh, Travis, I love congratulations. And you're so right when you say Canadians and Americans, we all know someone who's in this type of international relationship.
Exactly, yeah.
Okay. Also, Travis, you had some memorable stories over the past year overall. One of my favorites is the screech owls caught on camera, and this was in the Riverside area.
Yeah, that's a fun story that I had no idea so many people were going to like this story. I just knew that the images were so cool. It's one of my favorites, too. One Riverside man, Chris Jacobson, bringing us closer to owls than ever.
I'd never seen an owl in my life, and then all of a sudden they're in our yard.
6 years ago, that backyard visitor sparked a new passion for Riverside retiree Chris Jacobson, who built them a home. And when the pandemic hit, his hobby really took flight.
It was kind of hard to say what was going on in the house because screech owls are elusive, and most of their time is nocturnal. So after that, we decided, well, to get more of what's going on, we decided, well, probably put a camera inside the house.
What started as one camera has grown to 6. 2 inside the nest, 4 across the backyard, all capturing incredible close-up moments of a mated pair of screech owls and the 12 owlets they've hatched over the years.
We've actually seen one hatching, from time that it started peeping inside the shell until it was fully outside of the shell.
Jacobson shares these clips on social media where they've attracted hundreds of thousands of views, offering a window into a world most rarely see.
I think it's with the owls, it's their eyes. People they see the big eyes, and it's just kind of mesmerizing and mysterious.
He says his view counts really soared in those early pandemic days when we were all looking for a little escape. And now they're taking flight once again.
It was very well received during that time. It's everything going through now. It seems like people are back on that again.
What do you want people to take away from the images and the video that you're able to share here?
Just to appreciate what's around, the wildlife that's in the area.
The images so captivating that CTV newscasts across the country aired this story, and we hope to visit Jacobson again in the new year. He's already posting videos of owls snooping around the yard ahead of the winter.
Yes, we definitely need to get in touch again. Clearly, this is something our viewers want to see.
Yeah, it's great. He was sharing these on social media, and I came across them and thought, hey, let's put them out there for everybody to see.
For sure. Okay, and you also had a story about a month ago about a rare find at the university. And again, this is another one that our viewers loved.
More unique animal pictures, more unique animal stories. Something you certainly don't see every day. Conjoined twin salmon hatchlings found at University of Windsor by students at the Freshwater Restoration Ecology Center in LaSalle.
This year we came across a very unique gem. We found the twin salmon babies very early on in our research.
Conjoined twin salmon babies found by grad students just this fall while sorting through thousands of newly hatched Chinook salmon. A rare developmental quirk that only shows up maybe once in every 10 to 50,000 hatches, and a first for this facility.
They were just incredibly in awe of the fact that it survived, first of all, and secondly, they just sort of thought it was incredibly biologically fascinating because it's so rare.
The team snapped a quick photo and then put the tiny twins back with the rest of the hatchlings to give them the best shot at survival.
Very rare, and also very rare to find one that's still alive and surviving.
Pitcher says the salmon should be okay for now, but their future gets trickier as they grow up. They'll be struggling to separate, and survival will become more difficult, but a unique learning opportunity for the students who found them.
I know a lot of people were noting that the shape was in a heart.
Yeah, you know, Pitcher said that to me too. I didn't even notice that when I first saw it, but I guess my 2 through lines are love and animals.
Okay, Travis, thank you for all your stories throughout the year.
Of course, thank you. Thank you very much.
One of my favorite parts of the past year is introducing a new segment, one that brings local sports back to the newscast. This segment is, of course, On the Sidelines with Mr. Bob Belichico. Bob, the segment only started in September, but you have covered a lot of material since then. Are there any stories that stand out in your mind?
Well, there are a lot of things that stood out over the year, but I'll tell you, I'll take you back to one that took place in the spring. We're going back to March, April, when the Spitfires had a great team. However, injuries finally caught up with them in the 3rd round. Now, with 6 regulars out and rookies filling in, they were still able to take a strong Kitchener team to Game 7 of the Western Conference Final, and they almost won.
Last time we were in the playoffs, you know, we didn't go as we expected, and I think a lot of us who are still here, we learned from that. I think we have a winning culture, and the guys want it more.
Green Tree finished 3rd in league scoring with 119 points. Protas, well, he was just on fire, closing out the season with 23 points in the last 7 games to finish 2nd in league scoring with 124 points.
Lead player, powerful, unbelievable shot, and again, an unbelievable kid. So, it's so easy to coach when you got 2 guys like that.
Windsor is definitely a contender in the Western Conference once again this season. The captain is doing his thing, of course. Sophomore Ethan Belchez has stepped up. If they had Ilya Protas, they'd be one of the favorites to win the Memorial Cup this year, I think, for sure. The OHL trade deadline is coming up in January.
So we'll have to see what Buller has to say about that.
Yeah, it should be interesting. Now, Stephanie, there's also a sports-related story that caught the attention of the region. 11-year-old hockey players from Lakeshore were recognized nationally for their good deeds. Those deeds were shared on social media, nearly 1,300 in all. For their efforts, they won the Chevrolet Cup and $100,000.
I think it'll make a really big difference, and I hope we can cure cancer because it's really bad, and I don't think anybody deserves to have cancer.
We had the goal of doing 5 events and raising $100,000 at each. And here we've completed 5 events, and we've raised $1.8 million just in the hockey event. And on top of that, some other donations that have come through from Carson, from the U11 League, and we're at $2.3 million that we've raised total net. That's the net amount too. So it's actually absolutely incredible. We're trying to create better health outcomes for our community.
I was in the room. I'll tell you, it was very emotional with some of the players and Casey breaking into tears before they all went out to receive their trophy. The funding supports 3 Windsor-Essex cancer research projects. Play for the Cure has raised over $2.3 million, driven by Casey's hockey tournament, which is a lot of fun, and community-led initiatives.
Yeah, a lot of money there. Great.
Oh, yeah.
So, Bob, taking it back to you, sports is who you are. It's what you do, even before this segment started in September.
Can you believe 8.5 years? Yeah, 8.5 years. I'm just happy that the bosses gave this a green light, and we are able to do this and do it once a week, hopefully a little bit more later on in the future. But for now, I am happy, and I hope you are too.
Yeah, we do love local sports, and hopefully, yes, it will continue. Okay, Bob Belichico with On the Sidelines tonight. Thank you, Bob. Ready to jive? Coming up, catch my moves at the Dancing with the Easter Seal Stars. From snow to smoke to flooding and now back to snow again. It's been a whirlwind year for weather. Let's bring in meteorologist Gary Archibald for a look back at the weather events that made all the headlines.
It's been a dynamic year, to say the very least. The year started off with heavy dusting of snow and weather advisories, cold and less than ideal driving conditions. Then January 27th saw a major wind and blizzard event that swept through Ontario with wind gusts over 90 km.
And of course, Gary, in June, we were really talking about air quality.
At that time, more than 450 wildfires were burning, mostly in northern regions of the country, and winds sending smoke into the southern reaches. On June the 6th, according to an international air quality survey, Detroit and Windsor, Essex by default had the worst air pollution in the world. Environment Canada Canada, rating Windsor's air quality off the charts, giving it a 10 plus on their scale from 1 to 10.
Okay, then came the rains.
Yeah, lots of rains. A sudden drenching, triggering flash flooding, swamped roads, and wet basements.
We got all the rain that we needed all at once, over 5 inches in 2 hours.
An intense downpour in September, 50 to 100 millimeters of rain falling in a short span of time hit the ground too dry to absorb it. A section of County Road 50 was closed for most of the day as the road was completely underwater. Engineers declaring road failure at County Road 50 and Pleasure Beach Road, in part due to erosion. County Road 20 at Gore was flooded over, with the runoff flooding nearby residential property. Essex residents thought the pump stations all failed, but they hadn't. There was just too much water in too short a time, and then back to snow.
You know, it's kind of a nice for a change with a hot summer, and I actually kind of prefer this, being outside running in this, than I do in the heat.
I love it so much. Winter is my favorite. I am a Canadian.
The season's first measurable snowfall caught some drivers off guard.
It was just sudden, so I'm not prepared at all. So not looking forward to the weather. I love the snow when I'm prepared. I'm just not prepared.
It's very nice. This is Canada. I love snow. It's refreshing. And once you've taken a 4 or 5 kilometer walk, you feel like you've accomplished something.
So, Gary, which one really stood out to you? You've been doing this for a while now.
The flooding was tremendous to be right there. Some people's backyards completely flooded. So you get the idea. All it takes is one event, and it can be monumental. And Steph, of course, you've been talking all show with reporters about some of their more memorable stories from the past year. But what about you?
Well, Gary, there are so many, as you said, fabulous stories that we have covered over the past year. But there are 2 or 3 that really stood out in my mind as being quite memorable. It was actually a series starting with how one local restaurant owner is working to curb intoxication by putting guidelines in place.
Every day we open the news, we hear somebody drunk driver hit some family.
As a result, franchisee owner Kartikeyan Subramaniam distributed an internal note to staff last week implementing what he calls the drink reduction rule. It states only 3 drinks per person. If a guest wants a 4th drink, they must order food after the 3rd drink.
We could eliminate 95% of the problem by implementing this one simple policy.
In 2024, Windsor Police reported 257 incidents related to impaired driving. 389 impaired driving related charges were laid, and of those, 1 charge of impaired driving causing death. Gary, it's truly unfortunate that we have to tell these stories, but they still continue to happen.
And the public needs to know about them, no doubt.
Okay, so let's completely switch gears. Gary, you know I'm a romantic, so this last story really resonates with me. He is a firefighter and she is a nurse. The 2 met playing, listen to this, Pokemon Go. They then got engaged, and Pokemon heard their story, and this is the result.
It was magical. I couldn't believe that we got this far just because of meeting over Pokemon.
Yes, Pokemon. Just like that, Sandra and Les Storgo sealed their future with a kiss in a one-of-a-kind wedding. From cufflinks to napkins to specialty cocktails, the wedding all themed after the augmented reality mobile game where their love first sparked.
We had a Pokemon-themed cake. The Pokemon company itself designed the topper for it. It was Nurse Chansey and then Firefighter Squirtle, because she's a nurse and I'm a firefighter, so it themed so nicely, and the Pokemon company really embraced that.
So how this started is Sandra had sent in a long write-up and photos of the 2 of them traveling all over the world playing Pokemon together. So, Gary, their love story actually didn't end there. I just spoke with them recently. They said that Pokemon Go helped them in their finances to pay for their honeymoon in Japan. When they went to Japan, they were with the Pokemon media team. They were on the Japanese news station, and apparently a documentary is currently underway.
They are Pokemon stars. I should have invested a long time ago.
Yeah.
Stephanie, we can't forget how you kicked off and kicked out the end of the year. And I mean it, kicking it on the dance floor to the jive at the Dancing with Stars, the Easter Seals big event. Stephanie, you were having a blast in the third annual event with your partner, Robert Novak.
Yeah, he was a great partner. And you know what? The total raised for the night reached over $225,000, as you mentioned, for Easter Seals Ontario, which does offer programs and services for children and youth with physical disabilities. So very clearly, it was so much fun. I just want to kicking off the end of the year. So much fun. Again, a great organization. But this isn't just about me. Moving into 2026, we have a big announcement you need to share with us. Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
Oh, yes, that's right. Yeah, I will be one of the contestants in next year's event. For my eyes are on the Mirror Ball Trophy. That's for sure. I've already started practicing.
Yes, and I wonder what dance you're going to do, but we'll keep it under wraps. Okay. I think I know. But everyone in the newsroom will be there watching and cheering you on, that's for sure. Thank you so much, Gary, for this. And we do have an update for you. One question that keeps on coming up every time we are out in the community is, how is Ricardo Vanessa doing? Well, Ricardo was in, if you don't know, a serious motorcycle accident in August while he was touring Ontario. The good news is he is back home now and back on his feet, but he still has a long road to recovery. He thanks all of you for many of his well wishes.
On behalf of our dedicated team here at CTV News Windsor, thank you for watching.
From our television family to yours, wishing all of you the happiest of holiday season.
Take care.